Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where I talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Harley Quinn. Another great episode. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Well, first and foremost, Harley and Ivy are trying to torture the wrong person. So I was like, okay, because I couldn't remember who knew about Bruce being Batman. So I think Joker's the only one that knows the secret, which is also interesting, but also kind of plays into the dynamic of him never telling anyone. He knows that Bruce is Batman. And I mean, you would think, like, not unless that's something he forgot when he got his memories back, but yeah, it's just kind of that dynamic of like, why would I want to ruin that fun? It's kind of me and Batman's thing, plus he's moved on from Batman, so who cares, right? But yeah, they don't know that the person, because he also knows, like, right, you're not going to kill me because you need me for information. Dead man can't tell any tales. So they turn to the one person they know they can turn to. They have to turn to Psycho, who, because of Mayor Joker's program now, he's running like his own little like podcast type of situation. And so I love Bane being like, oh yeah, I need help. My name is Rain. Should I basically seek vengeance about my pasta maker or just kind of forgive and forget? And you even see some messages. One of them's like from Bizarro. One said Anonymous, one said Bizarro. Another one's from Max Lord, and another one's from Gorilla Grodd. I was like, what was the Bizarro one saying? Feeling negative. I'm like, I love it. And I forgot what he was in the middle of an ad read for before Harley and Ivy showed up. So they kind of have to help him. And he's also like, cool, like, I'm going to help you get inside of Bruce's mind, because I love it's like, but he's also one of the 0.01%. He's like one of the freaks. I guess like his mind is such a mental trap. I mean, it makes sense because because of all the training he's been through and stuff. But regardless, I love that it's like, right, okay, if I'm going to do this for you, Harley has to be on my podcast. Cause she's a really big get. Also, like, because he's fallen behind download-wise after Killer Croc, which King Shark was like, whoa, don't spoil the latest episode. I'm behind. So everyone has to assume the position of clenching their butt cheeks and everything together, like, and to deep dive into the mind. So King Shark's like, I'll stay behind and watch your body, which I'm like, good idea, because the last time someone didn't do that, Sai proceeded to almost cremate your body, so. But I love that the moment they landed, I was like, shut up. They basically land in Batman. Obviously, they blend, like, the background, Gotham's design and air and everything about it is designed after Bruce Timm's, like, you know, Batman the Animated Series, which I'm like, oh my god. Which also, like, there's almost like this, it's a coincidence, because obviously, like, they wrote this a while back. Obviously, it just takes a long time to animate stuff. But it's like, and then the news is only recent about the whole Batman, the Cape Crusader, show, at least not being on HBO Max or whatever, potentially being shopped other places, right? Just interesting timing. But yeah, him watching his parents get murdered. And I love the commentary. Yet again, making a reference to the fact is like, okay, we've seen it for the 1,000th fucking time. And it's just like, Ivy's like, cool, you're why are we being subjected to it again and again? I'm like, I love the deep commentary on that. Like, I love, it's pretty obvious commentary, but I just love that they're poking fun at that. You know, all the times we've seen. I mean, and what I also love too is they made reference to it in, what was it, episode 2? Oh my god, the pearls. But they didn't actually even show the pearls at all this episode, so I think that was done on purpose, which I thought was kind of interesting. But obviously they try to go to a different memory, but they can't, because everywhere they try to go, it's just Bruce reliving it over and over again. So basically, he repressed all his memories and he's stuck in a memory loop. Which I do like that. It's like, I don't know. I guess, have we ever really seen Psycho use any of his doctorate, like his PhD or whatever? Because Harley we've seen from time to time. So it's like, right, and him being like, oh, as a doctor, I also concur with her analysis of Bruce's circumstances. So, and Harley being like, wow, seeing your parents murder over and over again, you kind of feel bad for the kid. And Harley decided to step in, but it's like, right, did you not learn anything from our last trip down your memory lane? Messing with the memories Psycho and Ivy got booted along with Clayface, who all he cared about was trying to get to know the character of Thomas Wayne. Is like, wait, he has a mustache? And I even love the line later on when he's like, I talked to James Gunn, he said that they can add it in post, which I'm like, okay, it's definitely got to be like a Justice League slash Mission Impossible thing of like the reverse of them having to digitally remove Henry Cavill's mustache for Batman v Superman. Not for Batman v Superman, for the theatrical Justice League. So, but also I love that whole back and forth of like, oh my God, it's Joe Cool. It's like, no. Joe Cool is who Snoopy is when he puts on like the sunglasses or whatever. That's Joe Chill. So no, I thought Joe Cool was the camel on the like cigarettes. It's like, no, that's Joe Camel. And I'm like, I love that. And it's like, oh great, because we were talking about a fucking camel, we missed his parents getting murdered. But Harley is actually really sweet, and it's also very befitting that the psychiatrist, despite her being kind of the crazy person that she is, and I also love Bruce being like, I don't trust you because you're a clown. She's like, I'm not even down with the whole clown aesthetic anymore. I just keep it like this because like it makes my butt like really, the booty shorts really like accentuate my butt. And she's like, never mind, you're 8 years old. I shouldn't have done that. But him helping her, I thought her helping him was actually really sweet. They start going down memory lane. She's like, oh, look at you, kind of looking like a dour person. He was like, yeah, that was my parents' funeral. She's like, ugh, yikes. I was like, why do we fall, Master Wayne? It's like, to pick ourselves back up. Alfred's like, yes, that's exactly what I was going to say, which I'm like, yes, I love it. I just love it all. And she's like, wait, your need to, what was he talking about? Like, oh, I'm super cool. I need to be like very, very serious and blah, blah, blah. And she's like, oh, wow, the way you're talking about it, you sound like, he's like, I'm Batman. She's like, oh my God, Bruce Wayne is Batman? No way. I mean, yes, you being super rich would explain all the vehicles and stuff. And also the fact is, anytime villains show up that Bruce Wayne disappears and Batman shows up, she's like, well, in retrospect, it actually is super obvious and it makes a lot of sense. And he's like, wait till you find out who Superman is. I was like, I love it. Also, like at one point he's checking out the costume. He's like, do you think Alfred, the ears are too big? Which I'm like, I love that. Cause that's a constant thing about Batman. They, like, cause wasn't that a complaint about, Ben Affleck's suit? It's like, oh yeah, like he had like because obviously that's supposed to be like the Dark Knight Returns. It's what they were going for aesthetically. I don't know if it's like that in the comics or not, but that was a complaint that his bat ears were like too short. So it's like, oh, they're too long, too short. You haven't quite got the middle right. So I love that. Because part of the aesthetic kind of, especially just with this art style, it kind of reminded me of like the Batman to some extent, but maybe that's just like, I haven't looked at, like I haven't seen, because it's not like an exact design of it, but obviously they're going for like the very Batman the Animated Series. But I love that it's like, as you're like seeing some of his endeavors, at one point in time he's going up against Penguin and the Penguins with the rockets on their back. I was like, Batman, the Batman Returns. I was like, you're doing that? He's like, yeah, I had a few weird years there. Because there was at one point he was running with a bomb. I was like, is that supposed to be some like wink and nod to, I don't know what that one's, I mean, it has to be in reference to like one of the movies or something. It's like, not unless that's like an Adam West thing, but he wasn't wearing like, I mean, it could have just, but I love them leaning that aesthetic. And just, I love when they play with stuff like that. There was another show that did something, it might have been something DC related. I don't remember what it was. Something else kind of played with that, and I just can't remember what it was. Maybe it was Harley Quinn, maybe it was something else. Either way. Which I love. Oh, right. The commentary on, well, if you're Batman, I mean, couldn't you do more for Gotham with like, helping with like housing and stuff like that? He's like, wait, people have to pay for housing? And she's just like, Oh, she also made a remark about like, oh my God, another rich guy going off and getting some people at some temple, forcing them to train you. And I'm like, how many people has that come down to? Like the people that immediately come to my mind, billionaire wise, I'd be like, well, their circumstances are different, but it's like Danny Rand, aka Iron Fist, one of the Iron Fist, and Batman. But I don't. Maybe there's other people in the DC universe who've been through that situation as well. Maybe there's probably other characters in the Marvel universe that have kind of done that as well. But either way, I thought that was kind of nice. But they jumped into a memory where it's like Robin being tied to her. She's like, oh, I remember this. And she sees herself in the clown outfit again. She's just like, oh no. It's like cringing at her past. And she's like, oh my God. And she's like, and the accent, she's like, I mean, dial it back a little bit, honey. I was just like, oh my God. Oh, I love it. I mean, obviously it's like, because Kaylee only did it for like the beginning of the first episode, and then she severely pulled back because it's also like her way to distinguish her, Harley from like everyone else's, like distinguish it from God, Tara Strong. I was blanking for a second. I feel such an idiot for blanking on Tara, like Tara's or even like Margot's portrayal of Harley, but yeah, it's like, right, you'll find your love in the future and stuff like that. But even Harley was like, wow, honestly, this crime fighting stuff, she's like, I thought it was like going to be lame, but actually it's pretty dope. And it's like, oh yeah, it has its moments. Also, it's like, yeah, the costume looks good on you, Quinn. She's like, really? She's like, I know I like to show off my legs and stuff, but I mean, aren't these a little too short? I mean, she's like, I'm practically wearing a thong. I love it. But then like Joker and the other Harley both got killed by Joe Chill, who rolls up and pops both of them, and it's that sad moment of Bruce turning into a little kid wearing the costume, and as it's like, right, do you acknowledge me being your psychiatrist right now? And Bruce kind of nods. She's like, oh, take that as a yes, and this way you can't sue me later. And then later on be like, oh, so are you gonna pay that with like copay? It's like billionaires don't do the whole copay thing. And it's like, oh, fucking rich people. She's like, oh, fucking rich people. But she helped Bruce find like his happy memory, and it was the last time him and his family were together for Christmas, which I love. The Thomas, Martha, and Bruce stockings are big, and you have like a very small one for Alfred. I'm like, oh, poor Alfred. And Bruce finally acknowledging why he ended up kidnapping Frank, because he plans to use Frank to resurrect his dead parents. And it's like, oh, that's actually really sweet. Because she's like, oh wait, you were perving on Catwoman? And, he's like, no, I did it so I could catch up and stop you guys for your evil plan. But then it became, no, I could use Frank to bring back my parents, which are like, oh my God. I mean, that's what it comes down to. I mean, a lot of superheroes are riddled with trauma. There's plenty of Marvel characters riddled with trauma. There's so many DC characters riddled with trauma. It's kind of like, yeah, I think there's probably few examples of heroes who have no trauma associated with them becoming a superhero. It's kind of like, well, something bad had to happen to you to make you decide to like put on the suit. To some extent, that's not always the case, but it's like, well, even though it's like, he still has his tragedies. Even Superman still kind of falls under that category with the whole Krypton thing. But still, wanting to bring his parents back, it's actually like, oh, there's actually a really sweet reason for it. It's like, I mean, it makes sense. They are the core of your trauma and everything. And it turns out the Joe Chill that's been coming after them this entire time was Bruce. That it's like, right, it's my fault that my family died. Like, I was supposed to go to a board meeting, but I told my dad, like, no, I want to go see the Zorro movie. And I'm the one that said, like, oh, let's not take the limo, let's go through Crime Alley. So it's our fault that our parents died. And it's like, yeah, he tortures himself over and over again with it so he doesn't forget what is the reason for his life, the reason why he goes forward with all of this. And Harley's like, man, an Antonio Banderas movie was kind of the end of, was the crux of it. He's like, no, not the 90s one, the one that was black and white. Never mind. I was like, I love it. But it's like, yeah, okay, champ, let's go back to the Crime Alley and watch our parents get murdered. Because Harley wants to help him because she made a promise that she would, but she can't do it in here because his mind's too fucked up. She has to reach out to the real Bruce, which on the outside, Ivy like caressing Harley. It's like, no, she likes it when I play with her hair and stuff like that, which I'm like, oh, this is really sweet. And Psycho's being like, oh, I can't believe you put your tongue in that. It's like, you judgmental asshole. He's calmed down. And at the very least, he hasn't been slinging around the C word. So, progress. He seems to be doing better, and also he doesn't seem to hold a grudge against him like he used to. So obviously a lot of Mirror Joker's stuff to kind of help people has kind of, I think the program has done some good, at least from what we've seen so far. But then the rest of the Bat family rolls up and knocks everyone out, and by the time Harley wakes up, her, Clayface, Psycho, and Ivy are all like at Bruce Manor, and it's like Ivy's like, oh my god, he hired the Bat family. It's like, oh, I can't believe they're such sellouts, because Harley promised not to tell his secret. So knowing at the heart of all of this, it's like, right, what he's trying to do. It's but for Bruce, it's like, you've seen the darkness, so you know, like, this is the only way. And Ivy's like, wait, you can't bring people back. There's no. She's like, well, is it? That's not possible, is it? And so him resurrecting his parents at the end there was like grisly, but then it starts spreading even further, and you see like the eyes pop up, and at first, immediately with all the green and stuff, I'm like, are we doing a Solomon Grundy thing? Like, Solomon Grundy, I was trying to think, like, I feel like we might have seen him in the show already. Like, not a mainstay Solomon Grundy, but maybe in the background or something. Like, was he at the awards, the Villies in episode 3 of the season? I don't remember. I'd have to look it up real quick. So I quickly looked it up. He has been in the show, I think, just as a background. I think I was reading I was Googling it, and there's like a picture of like, from like season 1, I think it was like episode 8. It's a picture of him, like it's King Shark, but like in the background, it's Solomon Grundy and Calendar Man talking or something like that. So I was like, okay, so he's already a pre-established thing. So I'm like, okay. I mean, obviously, we're still going like down the, like, not probably going to lean into like the Night of the Living Dead type of stuff. I'm sure we'll probably get reference to that, maybe in some Walking Dead references, maybe. Just probably any zombie fiction type of situation. So, it's interesting how that's all kind of spanned out. Once again, the road to hell is paved with good intentions, right? I am curious, is his secret going to get revealed to the rest of the squad? It's like, because I mean, Harley now knowing that, which also kind of connects her and Joker even more of like, oh, like, he knows that secret, hasn't said anything, and she's making a promise, doctor-patient confidentiality, which is, once again, I love that. I think that's so sweet. So, the only person that didn't get captured, which we could still see him potentially rescuing them, or helping out at the very least, is King Shark, because he got upset because Ivy kept saying like, oh, you guys are doing is sitting over there playing in the corner. He's like, it helps me from stressing out. He's like, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna go back to my kingdom. And so he goes outside, and his people are kind of taking him away. And Psycho's like, what the fuck was that about? It's like, you missed a lot, Psycho. I mean, it all happened last episode, so it's kind of still a new development in general, but you've been away for a while. So he does have like the army of their kingdom to kind of back them up. So we'll see. I mean, I guess that's going to be a background thing. It'll probably be a while before, I mean, I don't know if we'll even circle back to that fully, like what we got last episode, dedicated like half the episode to it. I don't know if we'll get that for the rest of the season, because also this season's shorter too. This season's only 10 episodes I was seeing on Wikipedia, so I thought that was kind of interesting. But either way, it's going to be really, really interesting to see how all of this plays out going forward into the next episode. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.